Hi class, today is 162, so we are on to our next part of Wonder, chapters 23 through 32. So same thing here, you want to type in your name. So I'm going to type in my name, Mrs. Falby, and then you want to press next if you want to. If you want to open the chapter, you open the chapter here. Also, you can click on the link here to open the video if you want it to be bigger. So if right now you're like, wow, I can hardly see this video, click on the link here instead and open the video there so that you can follow along with the chapter better. Once you're done watching the video, you'll click next. So again, today we're talking about drawing conclusions. If you need to review this, make sure you review this as you click through. Drawing conclusions about the text using evidence to support your answer. So when you draw conclusions, you put together pieces of information to determine other facts. So first we're going to read the question and mark it up. Underline the clues in the text, so we're going to go through and kind of like highlight them like that. Think about what you already know and then identify the clues that support your answer choice. We will practice this today. So remember that this first one where I go through it with you, I'm going to practice this with you, but you are still going to need to fill it out. So make sure you're listening super carefully so that you know how to do it once it turns to your turn. Before we get started reading, I want you to look at the vocabulary we have for today. An aversion is a strong dislike for something. Deeds are things that are accomplished or done. Bleeding Scream comes up today when they talk about Halloween. And Wookiee is another Star Wars character that August talks about in the story. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Wake me up when September ends. The rest of September was hard. I wasn't used to getting up so early in the morning. I wasn't used to this whole notion of homework. And I got my first quiz at the end of the month. I never got quizzes when Mom homeschooled me. I also didn't like how I had no free time anymore. Before, I was able to play whenever I wanted to, but now it felt like I always had stuff to do for school. And being at school was awful in the beginning. Every new class was like a new chance for kids to not stare at me. They would sneak peeks at me from behind their notebooks or when they thought I wasn't looking. And they would take the longest way around me to avoid bumping into me in any way. Like I had some germ that they could catch, like my face was contagious. In the hallways, which were very crowded, my face would always surprise some unsuspecting kid who maybe hadn't heard about me. The kid would make the sound like you make when you're holding your breath before going underwater, a little sound. This happened maybe 4 or 5 times a day the first weeks. On the stairs, in front of the lockers, in the library. 500 kids in a school. Eventually, every one of them was going to see my face at some time. And I knew after the first couple of days that word had gotten out around about me. Because every once in a while, I'd catch a kid elbowing his friend as they passed me, or talking behind their hands as I walked by them. I can only imagine what they were saying about me. Actually, I prefer not to even imagine it. I'm not saying they were doing any of these things in a mean way. By the way, not once did a kid laugh or make noises or do anything like that. They were just being normal, dumb kids. I know that. I kind of wanted to tell them that. Like, it's okay. I know I'm weird looking. Take a look. I don't bite. Hey, the truth is, if a Wookiee started going to school all of a sudden, I'd be curious. I'd probably stare a bit. And if I was walking with Jack or Summer, I'd probably whisper to them, hey, there's the Wookiee. And if the Wookiee caught me saying that, he'd know I wasn't trying to be mean. I was just pointing out the fact that he's a Wookiee. It took about 1 week for the kids in my class to get used to my face. These were the kids I'd see every day in all my classes. It took about 2 weeks for the rest of the kids in my grade to get used to my face. These were the kids I'd seen in the cafeteria, yard time, PE, music, library, computer class. It took about a month for the rest of the kids in my entire school to get used to it. These were the kids in all the other grades. They were the big kids, some of them. Some of them had crazy haircuts. Some of them had earrings in their noses. Some of them had pimples. None of them looked like me. So I want you to imagine if you were August in this situation, how would you feel going to a school and knowing that all these people are staring at you? I know it would be a little bit hard for me to go to a school to go somewhere knowing that everyone's staring at the way I looked. So I feel like he's doing a pretty good job. Jack will. I hung out with Jack in homeroom. English, history, computer, music, and science, which were all the classes we had together. The teachers assigned seats in every class, and I ended up sitting by Jack in every single class. So I figured either the teachers were told to put me and Jack together, or it was totally incredible coincidence. I walked to classes with Jack too. I know he noticed kids staring at me, but he pretended not to notice. One time though, on our way to history, this huge 8th grader who was zooming down the stairs 2 steps at a time accidentally bumped into us at the bottom of the stairs and knocked me down. As the guy helped me stand up, he looked at my face, and without even meaning to, he just said, "Whoa." Then he patted me on the shoulder like he was dusting me off and took off after his friends. For some reason, me and Jack started cracking up. "That guy made the funniest face," said Jack as we sat down at our desks. "I know, right?" I said. He was like, "Whoa." I swear, I think he wet his pants. We were laughing so hard that the teacher, Mrs. Roach, had to ask us to settle down. Later, after we finished reading about our ancient Sumerian-built sundials, Jack whispered, "Do you ever want to beat those kids up?" I shrugged. "I guess. I don't know." "I'd want to. I think you should get a secret squirt gun or something and attach it to your eyes somehow. And every time someone stares at you, you could just squirt them in the face. With some green slime or something," I answered. No, with slug juice, mixed with dog pee." "Yeah," I said, completely agreeing. "Guys," said Mr. Roach from across the room, "people are still reading." We nodded and looked down at our books. Then Jack whispered, "Are you always going to look this way, August? I mean, can't you get plastic surgery or something?" I smiled and pointed to my face. "Hello, this is after plastic surgery." Jack clapped his hands over his forehead and started laughing hysterically. "Dude, you should sue your doctor," he answered between giggles. This time, the two of us were laughing so much we couldn't stop, even after Mr. Roach came over and made us both switch chairs with the kids next to us. Mr. Brown's October precept. Mr. Brown's precept for October was, "Your deeds are your monuments." He told us that this was written on the tombstone of some Egyptian guy that died thousands of years ago. Since we were just about to start studying ancient Egypt in history, Mr. Brown thought this was a good choice of a precept. Our homework assignment was to write a paragraph about what we thought the precept meant or how we felt about it. This is what I wrote. This precept means that we should be remembered for the things we do. The things we do are the most important things of all. They are more important than what we say or what we look like. The things we do outlast our mortality. The things we do are the monuments that people build to honor the heroes after they've died. They're like the pyramids that the Egyptians built to honor the pharaohs. Only instead of being made out of stone, they're made out of the memoirs people have about you. That's why your deeds are like your monuments, built with memories instead of with stone. So I want you to think about this. This precept means that we should be remembered for the things that we do. So that means we want to be doing good things, right? All right, let's keep going. We're on to apples. After this, we're going to pause and do a question together. Apples. My birthday is October 10th. I like my birthday. 10/10. It would have been great if I'd been born at exactly 10:10 in the morning or at night, but I wasn't. I was born just after midnight. But I still think my birthday is cool. I usually have a little party at home, but this year I asked my mom if I could have a big bowling party. Mom was surprised, but happy. She asked me who I wanted to ask from my class, and I said everyone in my homeroom, plus Summer. "It's a lot of kids, Augie," said Mom. "I have to invite everyone because I don't want anyone to get their feelings hurt. If they find out the other way, that other people are invited and they aren't, okay?" "Okay," Mom agreed. "You even want to invite the what's the deal kid?" "Yeah, you can invite Julian," I answered. "Geez, Mom, you should forget about that already." "I know, you're right." A couple of weeks later, I asked Mom who was coming to my party, and she said Jack, Will, Summer, Reed, Kinsley, both Maxes, and a couple of other kids said that they were going to try to be there. Like who? Charlotte's mom said Charlotte had a dance recital earlier in the day, but that she was going to try to come to your party if time allowed, and Tristan's mom said that he might come after a soccer game. So that's it, I said. That's like 5 people. That's more than 5 people, Augie. I think a lot of people just had plans already, Mom answered. We were in the kitchen. She was cutting one of the apples we had just gotten at the farmer's market into a teensy-weensy bites so I could eat it. What kind of plans? I asked. I don't know, Augie. We sent the Evites out kind of late. Like, what did they tell you, though? What reasons did they give? Everyone gave different reasons, Augie. She sounded a little impatient. Really, sweetie, it shouldn't matter what their reasons were. People had plans, that's all. What did Julian give as his reason? I asked. You know, said Mom. His mom was the only person who didn't RSVP at all. She looked at me. I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I laughed because I thought she was making a joke, but I realized she wasn't. What does that mean? I asked. Never mind. Now go wash your hands so you can eat. My birthday party turned out to be much smaller than I thought it would be, but it was still great. Jack, Summer, Reed, Tristan, and both Maxes came from school. And Christopher came too, all the way from Bridgeport with his parents. And Uncle Ben came, and Aunt Kate and Uncle Poe drove from Boston, though Tata and Papa were in Florida for the winter. It was fun because all the grown-ups ended up bowling in the lane next to ours, so it really felt like there were a lot of people there to celebrate my birthday. Pause there. We're going to go to day 162. Why does August invite his entire class to his birthday party? So we're looking for August. Why August invites the class. Why does August invite the class? So is it because he knows a lot of people are busy and won't come? Is it because he needed a large group to be able to go bowling? Is it because he is best friends with everyone in his class? Or because he does not want anyone to feel left out? So I'm going to reread over this. So it says, I asked Mom if I could have a big bowling party. And I said I wanted to invite everyone in my homeroom plus Summer. That doesn't tell me why, though. She said, that's a lot of kids. Right here, I have to invite everyone because I don't want anyone to get their feelings hurt if they find out other people are invited and they aren't. So he doesn't want anyone to feel left out. He doesn't want their feelings to get hurt. So I'm going to copy this. And then it says, what evidence from the text best supports your answer to part A? So this evidence proves he doesn't want people to feel left out. I have to invite everyone because I don't want anyone to get their feelings hurt. So I would start with, in the text, it says, and then I just copy and pasted that right there. So now I have to invite everyone because I don't want anyone to get their feelings hurt if they find out other people are invited and they aren't. That proves that he doesn't want people to feel left out. So you're going to do exactly that. Then you'll click next. And now you're going to have another one to do. And we'll go through a little bit of this one together too. Before we do that, we got to keep reading. Halloween. At lunch the next day, Summer asked me what I was going to be for Halloween. Of course, I'd been thinking about it since last Halloween, so I knew right away. Boba Fett. You know you can wear a costume to school on Halloween, right? No way. Really? So long as it's politically correct. What, like no guns and stuff? Exactly. What about blasters? I think a blaster's a gun, Augie. Oh, man, I said, shaking my head. Boba Fett has a blaster. At least we don't have to come like a character in a book anymore. In lower school, that's what you had to do. Last year I was the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. But that's a movie, not a book. Hello, Summer answered. It was a book first. One of my favorite books in the world, actually. My dad used to read it to me every night in the first grade. When Summer talks, especially when she's excited about something, her eyes squint like she's looking right at the sun. I hardly ever see Summer during the day, since the only class we have together is English. But ever since our first lunch at school, we've sat at the summer table together every day, just the two of us. So, what are you going to be? I asked her. I don't know yet. I know what I'd really want to go as, but I think it might be too dorky. You know, Savannah's group isn't even wearing costumes this year. They think we're too old for Halloween. What? That's just dumb. I know, right? I thought you didn't care what those girls think. She shrugged and took a long drink of her milk. So, what dorky thing is it that you want to dress up as? I asked her, smiling. Promise not to laugh. She raised her eyebrows on her shoulders, embarrassed. A unicorn. I smiled and looked at down at my sandwich. Hey, you promised not to laugh. She laughed. Okay, I said, but you're right, that is too dorky. I know, she said, but I have it all planned out. I'd make the head out of paper mache and paint the horn gold and make the mane gold too. It would be so awesome. Okay, I shrugged, then you should do it. Who cares what other people think, right? Maybe what I'll do is just wear it to the Halloween parade, she said, snapping her fingers, and I'll be like the goth girl for school. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Sounds like a plan, I nodded. Thanks, Augie, she giggled. You know, that's what I like best about you. I feel like I can tell you anything. Yeah, I answered, nodding. I gave her a thumbs up sign. Cool beans. School pictures. I don't think anyone will be shocked to learn that I don't want to have my school picture taken on October 22nd. No way, no thank you. I stopped letting anyone take my picture of me a while ago. I guess you could call it a phobia. No, actually, it's not a phobia. It's an aversion, which is a word I just learned in Mr. Brown's class. I have an aversion to having my picture taken. There, I used it in a sentence. Remember, aversion means a strong dislike for something. I thought Mom would try to get me to drop my aversion to having my picture taken for school, but she didn't. Unfortunately, while I managed to avoid having the portrait taken, I couldn't get out of being part of the class picture. Ugh. The photographer looked like he'd just sucked on a lemon when he saw me. I'm sure he thought I ruined the picture. I was one of the ones in the front, sitting down. I didn't smile. Not that anyone could tell if I had. The cheese touch. I noticed not long ago that even though people were getting used to me, no one would actually touch me. I didn't realize this at first because it's not like kids go around touching each other that much, in middle school anyway. But last Thursday in dance class, which is like my least favorite class, Mrs. Antaby, the teacher, tried to make me and Eczema Chin be my dance partner. Now, I've never actually seen someone have a panic attack before, but I have heard about it, and I'm pretty sure Eczema had a panic attack at that second. She got really nervous and turned pale and literally broke into a sweat within a minute. And then she came up with some really lame excuse about really having to go to the bathroom. Anyway, Mrs. Antanaby let her off the hook because she ended up not making anyone dance together. Then yesterday in my science elective, we were doing this cool mystery powder investigation where we had to classify a substance as an acid or a base. Everyone had to heat their mystery powders on a heating plate and make observations. So we were all huddled around the powders with our notebooks. Now, there are 8 kids in this elective, and 7 of them were squished together on one side of the plate, while one of them, me, had loads of room on the other side. So of course I noticed this, but I was hoping Miss Rubin wouldn't notice this because I didn't want her to say something. But of course she did notice this, and of course she said something. Guys, there's plenty of room on that side. Tristan, Nino, go over there, she said, and so Tristan and Nino scooted over to my side. Tristan and Nino have always been nice to me. It's been okay nice to me. I want to go on the record to saying that. Not super nice, like they go out of their way to hang out with me, but okay nice. Like they say hello to me and they talk to me like normal. And they didn't even make a face when Miss Rubin told them to come to my side, which a lot of kids do when they think I'm not looking. Anyway, everything was going fine until Tristan's mystery powder started melting. He moved his foil off the plate just as my powder began to melt too, which is why I went to move mine off the plate. And then my hand accidentally bumped his hand for a fraction of a second. Tristan jerked his hand away so fast that he dropped his foil on the floor while also knocking everyone else's foil off the heating plate. Tristan, yelled Miss Rubin, but just didn't even care about the spilled powder on the floor, or that he ruined the experiment. What he was most concerned about was getting to the lab sink to wash his hands as fast as possible. That's when I knew for sure there was this thing about touching me at Beecher Prep. I think it's like the cheese touch in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The kids in that story were afraid they'd catch cooties if they touched the old moldy cheese on the basketball court. At Beecher Prep, I'm the old moldy cheese. Costumes. So I want to talk about that first before we move on. We know that's not very nice, so that's not choosing to be kind. So I want us to think about what we would do in those situations to make sure that we were choosing to be kind if this was our life. Okay. Costumes. For me, Halloween is the best holiday in the world. It even beats Christmas. I get to dress up in a costume. I get to wear a mask. I get to go around like every other kid with a mask, and nobody thinks I look weird. Nobody takes a second look. Nobody notices me. Nobody knows me. I wish every day could be Halloween. We could all wear masks all the time. Then we would walk around and get to know each other before we got to see what we looked underneath the masks. When I was little, I used to wear an astronaut helmet everywhere I went. To the playground, to the supermarket, to pick Via up from school, even in the middle of the summer, though it was so hot my face would sweat. I think I wore it for a couple of years, but I had to stop wearing it when I had my eye surgery. I was about 7, I think. And then we couldn't find the helmet after that. Mom looked everywhere for it. She figured that it had probably ended up in Gran's attic. She kept meaning to look for it, but by the time I had gotten used to not wearing it. I have pictures of me in all my Halloween costumes. My first Halloween, I was a pumpkin. My second, I was Tigger. My third, I was Peter Pan. My dad dressed up as Captain Hook. My fourth, I was Captain Hook. My dad dressed up as Peter Pan. My fifth, I was an astronaut. My sixth, I was Obi-Wan Kenobi. My seventh, I was a clone trooper. My eighth, I was Darth Vader. My ninth, I was Bleeding Scream, the one that had the fake blood oozing all over the skull mask. This year, I'm going to be Boba Fett. Not Boba Fett, the kid in the Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, but Boba Fett, the man from Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Mom searched everywhere for the costume, but couldn't find one my size, so she bought me a Jango Fett costume, since Jango was Boba Fett's dad, and wore the same armor, then painted the armor green. She did some other stuff to make it look worn, too. Anyway, it looks totally real. Mom's really great at costumes. In homeroom, we all talked about what we were going to be for Halloween. Charlotte was going to be Hermione from Harry Potter. Jack was going as a Wolfman. I heard Julian was going as Jango Fett, which was a weird coincidence. I don't think he liked hearing that I was going as Boba Fett. On the morning of Halloween, Via had this big crying meltdown about something. Via's always been so calm and cool, but this year she's had a couple of these kinds of fits. Dad was late for work and was like, Via, let's go, let's go. Usually Dad's super patient about things, but not when it comes to his being late for work. And his yelling just stressed Via out even more. She started crying louder. So Mom told Dad to take me to school and that she'd deal with Via. Then Mom kissed me goodbye quickly before I even put on my costume and disappeared into Via's room. Augie, let's go, now, said Dad. I have a meeting I can't be late for. I haven't put on my costume yet. So put it on already. 5 minutes, I'll meet you outside. I rushed to the room and started to put on my Boba Fett costume. But all of a sudden, I didn't feel like wearing it. I'm not sure why. Maybe because it had all these belts that needed to be tightened and I needed someone's help to put it on. Or maybe because it was still smelled like it had like paint. All I knew was that it was a lot of work to put the costume on and Dad was waiting and would get super impatient if I made him late. So at the last minute, I threw on Bleeding Scream costume from last year. It was such an easy costume and long black robe and a big white mask. I yelled goodbye out the door on my way out, but Mom didn't even hear me. Thought you were going as Jango Fett, said Dad when I got outside. Boba Fett. Whatever, said Dad. This is a better costume anyway. Yeah, it is. It's cool, I answered. Pause there. So we're going to do part of this one together. So we just read this. So we don't know why was August excited about Halloween. So we're looking for August and being excited about Halloween. So I remember up here, it was right here. For me, Halloween is the best holiday. I get to dress up in a costume. I get to wear a mask. I get to go around like every other kid with a mask on, and nobody thinks I look weird. Nobody takes a second look. Nobody notices me. Nobody knows me. So he loves Halloween. Is it because he got to look like everyone else because they're all in costumes? Because he loves to get free candy trick-or-treating? They didn't even talk about that anywhere. Because he didn't have to go to school? Nope, he's going to school right down here. Because he's going to a party at a friend's house. They didn't talk about that, so it's definitely A. So now you want to put your evidence. So I already have it highlighted up here. So all you have to do is copy it down here and start it with in the text. It says, and then put your evidence down there. So I would just copy and paste what I put up here, down here, and then press next. Now, this is the last one you're going to do. So we're going to finish reading, and then this one you're going to do totally on your own. We're almost done. Bleeding Scream. Walking through the halls that morning on my way to the lockers was, I have to say, absolutely awesome. Everything was different now. I was different. Where I usually walked with my head down, trying to avoid being seen, today I walked with my head up, looking around. I wanted to be seen. One kid was wearing the exact costume as mine. Long white skull face, oozing fake red blood, high-fived me as we passed by each other on the stairs. I have no idea who he was, and he had no idea who I was. And I wondered for a second if he would have ever done that if he knew it was me under that mask. I was starting to think that this was going to go down as one of the most awesome days in the history of my life. But then I got to homeroom. The first costume I saw as I walked inside was Darth Sidious. He had one of those rubber masks that looked so realistic with the big black hood over it and a long black robe. I knew right away it was Julian. Of course. He must have changed his costume at the last minute because he thought I was coming as Jango Fett. He was talking to two mummies who must have been Miles and Henry. And they were all kind of looking at the door like they were waiting for someone to come through it. I knew it wasn't a bleeding scream that they were looking for. It was Boba Fett. I was going to go and sit at my usual desk, but for some reason, I don't know why, I found myself walking over to the desk near them, and I could hear them talking. One of the mummies was saying it doesn't look like him. Like this part especially, answered Julian's voice. He put his fingers on the cheeks and his eyes of Darth Sidious' mask. Actually, said the mummy, what he really looks like is one of those shrunken heads. Have you ever seen those? He looks exactly like that. I think he looks like an orc. Oh, yeah. If I look like that, said the Julian voice, kind of laughing, swear to God I'd put a hood over my face every day. I've thought about this a lot, said the second mummy, sounding serious, and I really think if I looked like him, seriously, I think I'd kill myself. You would not, said Darth Sidious. Yeah, for real, insisted the same mummy. I can't imagine looking in the mirror every day and seeing myself like that. It would be too awful. And getting stared at all the time? Then why do you hang out with him so much? Said Darth Sidious. I don't know, answered the mummy. Tushman asked me to hang out with him at the beginning of the year, and he must have told all the teachers to put us next to each other in all of our classes or something. The mummy shrugged. I knew the shrug, of course. I knew the voice. I knew I wanted to run out of class right then and there. But I stood where I was and listened to Jack finish what he was saying. I mean, the thing is, he always follows me around. What am I supposed to do? Just ditch him, said Julian. I don't know. I don't know what Jack answered, because I walked out of class without anyone knowing I had been there. My face felt like it was on fire. I walked back down the stairs. I was sweating under my costume, and I started crying. I couldn't keep it from happening. The tears were so thick in my eyes I could barely see but I couldn't wipe them through the mask as I walked. I was looking a little tiny spot to disappear into. I wanted a hole I could fall inside of, a little black hole that would eat me up. So pause. We know that right now, Augie's feeling really sad. He said his face felt like he was on fire. He's crying. Because why? He just heard somebody talking about him, but who was it that was talking about him that made him so sad? Who was it? Said somebody that he hangs out with a lot. Who do you think it is? Let's keep going. Last chapter. Names. Rat Boy, Freak, Monster, Freddy Krueger, E.T., Grossed Out, Lizardface, Mutant. I know all the names they call me. I've been in enough playgrounds to know that kids can be mean. I know. I ended up in the second floor bathroom. No one was there because first period had started and everyone was in class. I locked the door on my stall, took off my mask, and just cried for I don't know how long. Then I went to the nurse's office and told her I had a stomach ache, which was true because I felt like I'd been kicked in the gut. Nurse Molly and Mom called Mom and had me lie down on the sofa next to her desk. 15 minutes later, Mom was at the door. "Sweetness," she said, coming over to hug me. "Hi," I mumbled. I didn't want her to ask her anything until afterwards. "You have a stomach ache?" she asked, automatically putting her hand on my forehead to check my temperature. He said he feels like throwing up, said Nurse Molly, looking at me with very nice eyes. "And I have a headache," I whispered. "I wonder if it's something you ate," said Mom, looking worried. "There's a stomach bug going around," said Nurse Molly. "Oh, geez," said Mom, her eyebrows going up as she shook her head. She helped me to my feet. "Should I call a taxi or are you okay walking home?" "I can walk home." "What a brave kid," said Nurse Molly, patting me on the back as she walked us toward the door. "If he starts throwing up or runs a temperature, you should call the doctor." "Absolutely," said Mom, shaking Nurse Molly's hand. "Thank you so much for taking care of him." "My pleasure," answered Nurse Molly, putting her hand on my chin and tilting my face up. "You take care of yourself, okay?" I nodded and mumbled, "Thank you." Mom and I walked our whole way home. I didn't tell her anything about what had happened, and later when she asked me if I felt well enough to go trick-or-treating after school, I said no. This worried her since she knew how much I usually love trick-or-treating. I heard her say to Dad on the phone, "He doesn't even have enough energy to go trick-or-treating." "No fever at all." "Well, if he doesn't feel better by tomorrow, I know." Poor thing. Imagine his missing Halloween. Got out of going to school the next day too, which was Friday, so I had the whole weekend to think about everything. I was pretty sure I would never go back to school again. So, now you have your question to answer down here. Why does August go home from school on Halloween? Is it because he actually gets the stomach flu? Because he hears Jack Will talking about him and it hurts his feelings? He gets a headache and he can't concentrate? Or he sees Julian dressed up as Darth Sidious? And then you need to find your evidence. Okay? Press submit when you're done. All right, I will talk to you tomorrow. I hope you enjoy the book. Bye.